Um, in my early 20s, I started working at a behavioral assessment program for adolescent boys, which was kind of crazy because I had to restrain guys that were like twice my size. They were like up here, and I was like, 20 years old trying to like restrain these big, huge, like crazy guys, and it was very interesting. When I first started working there, I didn't really understand like the whole boundaries concept, and I was still really young, and like I would say things to them like, oh, this sucks, and they're like, you can't say that, So then like by the time I was like ending up working there, it was always like, that's inappropriate. And here I am like 20 years old telling somebody that's like 18 years old that they're doing something inappropriate, and it was just like very bizarre. It was like really weird. But when I first started working there, my first week, it was like the worst week of my entire life. And the first day that I was working there, one of the kids, we went down to the beach, and he ended up, they were like riding in on the surf on the ocean, and he got what they call, I think they call it like a stinger or something like that, and he twisted his neck so far back that he was paralyzed from the neck down. And this is my first day at work. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, what am I doing? Like, why am I even doing this right now? And he ended up getting helicoptered into Boston. And it was just like this horrible 24 hours of my life of, trying to explain to the director, like, how this happened, and feeling bad for this kid's family. And then the program got a 51A filed against it, like for like neglect and abuse, and like it was just like this huge tragedy. And then the very next day, one of my other kids tried to overdose, and I ended up at the hospital with him all night long, holding his hand in the hospital as he got his stomach pumped. So that was just the start of my week. That's how it all started. So by the time I got to the end of the week, it was just like I was done. I was like, I just need to like get away and just go and do something for myself and just relax, and just been a crazy week. So I decided that I was going to go up to my grandmother's house. My grandmother lives up at Lake Winnipesaukee, and I knew that if I went up there, my grandmother would do all my laundry. So I packed all of my laundry in the backseat of my car and decided that I was going to drive up to my grandmother's house and just like chill out and relax. She was going to do all my laundry. She was going to feed me. She was going to give me money. She was going to bring me out to breakfast. She does what she does best. So I get in my car and I start driving up to the lake, and I'm going like 90, and I'm like, jamming out to my radio and singing, and all of a sudden I feel like an explosion underneath the engine, and I don't know what's going on, and I'm freaking out, and I'm like, I knew I didn't have enough time to pull over to the side of the road. So I end up pulling into the median strip in the middle of the highway. So here I am sitting in my car in the middle of the highway at midnight, just being like, this is gonna be the worst fucking week I've ever had. And I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit here, I'm just gonna relax, I'm gonna listen to my music, and I'm gonna call AAA. Now, AAA is like, seriously, like I must have had them on speed dial. They probably knew my name as soon as they called. And I was like, hey guys, it's me. Yeah, I'm broke down again. So I call them, and I tell them, I'm broken down on the side of the highway, I need somebody to come and get me. So I'm sitting in my car, I turn up the radio, I'm singing, start smoking a cigarette, and all of a sudden I'm like, it's awfully smoky in here for me just smoking a cigarette. That's weird. Huh. So I get out of the car, I go over, I open up the front of the car. The car is on fire. Like my whole car is on fire. It's like the oil has like just lit up, like it's just blazing all over the place. I'm like, what the fuck? So I start running down the highway. So I'm standing in the middle of the median strip in the highway, and I'm like, okay, what do I do? So I call AAA back. Hey guys, do you think you could get somebody here a little bit sooner? Because my car is like on fire. And they're like, what? I'm like, no, seriously, it's on fire. Do you think you could get somebody a little bit faster? So they're like, all right, we're gonna call the police and the fire trucks. And I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever, just send somebody, like get somebody over here. So here I am, just standing in the middle of the highway, smoking butts, like not really sure what to do with myself. So who shows up first but the tow truck driver, right? I'm like, really? Seriously? So the tow truck driver pulls up, right? And I see him pull up to near my car and start backing up. And I'm like, no! And I just start running down the highway and I'm like waving my hands. And I'm like, don't do it! And I'm picturing like a Die Hard movie or something, you know, like where he like taps my car and the whole thing blows up. And I kill the tow truck driver and I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, my car is on fire. So he opens up the car. He's like, oh my God. So he gets the fire extinguisher. He tries to put it out. To no avail. He cannot put out the car. So he's like, we're going on the other side of the highway. So we go on the other side of the highway, we're sitting in the car, and finally the police show up. Like 4 police cruisers come up. They try to put out the fire. They can't get it out. It's still just blazing away. Now my black car is just covered with white foam. It's like completely horrible. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. All my laundry is back there. I'm not gonna have any clothes to wear for the rest of the week. So finally the fire truck showed up. By the time the fire truck showed up, the fire had kind of smoldered out on its own, but I knew that that car was just never going to be the same. You know, I knew that I was never going to make it anywhere in that car. And the good part of the story is that my laundry didn't catch on fire. So I didn't have my laundry. But unfortunately, the tow truck driver spent the rest of the evening on my way home, driving me home, telling me about the worst week he ever had. Like, yeah, okay, I'm the one that needs the free pass.